Welcome back to the channel. Today, we will dive into the 10 best classic Japanese motorcycles of all time. 10. 1965 Suzuki T20. Back in the mid-60s, Suzuki wasn't yet the powerhouse it would become, but the T20 Super 6 was proof that the brand was on the right track. This bike was fast, light, and came with a 6-speed gearbox. At a time when most bikes were running 4 or maybe 5 gears, the T20 gave riders an extra cog to squeeze every ounce of speed out of its 247cc two-stroke twin. It wasn't just about having an extra gear though. The T20 was a proper performance bike, offering quick acceleration, a top speed of around 90 miles per hour, and a lightweight chassis that made it a blast to ride. It also had a twin leading shoe front brake, which was a big deal in the days before disc brakes became common. Add in Suzuki's pointless electronic ignition system, and the T20 was a bike that delivered more tech than you'd expect for its size. The T20 was essentially a super high-performance bike when it was released. 9. 1964 Yamaha YDS3. But if you think the T20's 6-speed setup was impressive for the 1960s, wait until you see what Yamaha was doing around the same time. Yamaha was already making a name for itself in the 1960s. But the YDS3 is where things really started to heat up. The bike came with an automatic oil injection system, a feature that made life a whole lot easier for riders. Before this bike, two-stroke motorcycles required riders to pre-mix oil and fuel manually. Forget to do it right, and you'd risk engine failure. The YDS3's auto lube system eliminated that hassle, automatically mixing lube and fuel at the correct ratio. It was a massive step forward in making two-stroke motorcycles more practical, and Yamaha would go on to use this tech in countless models. Performance-wise, the 246cc twin-cylinder engine packed plenty of punch for its time, pushing the bike to speeds of around 90 miles per hour. It also handled well, with a light chassis and a smooth shifting transmission that made it a joy to ride. In short, it was quick, reliable, and advanced for its era. 8. 1966 Kawasaki W1. But as revolutionary as the YDS3 was, Kawasaki had something better to offer. By the mid-1960s, Kawasaki had a reputation for building small, reliable motorcycles, but the brand hadn't yet made a serious move into the big bike market. That changed with the W1, a 624cc vertical twin that looked more like a British bike than a Japanese motorcycle. And there was a good reason for that. It was heavily inspired by the BSA A7. At the time, British bikes dominated the world of large displacement motorcycles. Kawasaki, seeing an opportunity, reverse-engineered the BSA design and built something that was arguably better. The W1 had the classic long, low silhouette of a proper 60s roadster, complete with wire-spoke wheels, chrome accents, and a beautiful teardrop tank. Kawasaki might have copied a British bike, but they did it better than even the Brits themselves. 7. 1959 Honda Dream. Now, if you're not too big a fan of Kawasaki, then this Honda might just be your dream bike. Few motorcycles in history have a legacy as significant as the Honda Dream. Before the Dream, Japanese motorcycles weren't taken all that seriously outside of their home market. That changed when Honda rolled out the C71 and C72 models, both featuring a 250cc 4-stroke twin-cylinder engine. What set them apart wasn't just their reliability, but also their pressed steel frame, electric start, and smooth performance. All things that were unheard of at the time for a bike of this size. The Dream was an immediate hit. It was affordable, easy to ride, and almost indestructible. It even came with Honda's signature chain guard and enclosed rear fender, keeping riders clean in all kinds of weather. A small but brilliant design choice. The Dream wasn't flashy, it wasn't aggressive, but it was revolutionary. 6. 1969 Kawasaki H1 Mach III. But if you're into more aggressive riding, then maybe you should stick with this Kawasaki. The Kawasaki H1 Mach III was designed to be a super fast motorcycle. Introduced in 1969, the H1 was powered by a 498cc two-stroke triple-cylinder engine that cranked out a jaw-dropping 60 horsepower. For context, this was a time when most bikes in its class were making significantly less. The H1 could hit a blistering 115 miles per hour, which was almost unheard of for a bike its size. But the increased speed came at a cost. The H1 had a reputation for being dangerous, earning the infamous nickname the Widowmaker. The reason? It had a ridiculously light frame, sketchy handling, and drum brakes that were barely up to the task of slowing it down. Despite its wild nature, riders loved it. The H1 was lightweight, aggressively styled, and ridiculously quick in a straight line. 5. 1971 Suzuki GT750. By the early 70s, motorcycle manufacturers were in a horsepower arms race. Faster, bigger, and more powerful bikes were hitting the streets, and Suzuki knew it needed something special to compete. Their weapon of choice was the GT750, a 739cc two-stroke triple that became legendary not just for its performance, but for something almost unheard of at the time: liquid cooling. That's right, while most bikes of the era relied on air cooling, the GT750 came equipped with a full liquid-cooled system, earning it the nickname the Water Buffalo. This meant smoother performance, better reliability, and the ability to handle long rides without overheating. The GT750 wasn't just a technical marvel though. With 67 horsepower and a top speed of around 110 miles per hour, it was quick for its size. It also had a comfortable ride, thanks to its well-tuned suspension, making it a great touring bike. 4. 1970 Yamaha XS650. But if you want something a little simpler but super reliable, Yamaha has just that. While other brands were experimenting with high-tech designs back in the early 70s, Yamaha built a rock-solid air-cooled parallel twin that was designed to last. At first glance, the XS650 looked like a British bike. It had a classic upright stance, spoked wheels, and a simple twin-cylinder engine. But unlike the vibration-heavy, oil-leaking machines from Britain, Yamaha's parallel twin was engineered with precision and durability in mind. With 53 horsepower and a 650cc engine, the XS650 wasn't the fastest bike on the road, but what it lacked in sheer speed, it made up for in versatility. Riders used it for commuting, long-distance touring, and even off-road adventures. 3. 1972 Kawasaki Z1. If you had to pinpoint the moment when Kawasaki truly became a performance powerhouse, it would be 1972 with the release of the Z1. Kawasaki had been working on an inline-4 superbike for years, but when Honda surprised the world with the CB750 in 1969, Kawasaki knew it had to go even bigger. The result was a 903cc DOHC inline-4 that pumped out 82 horsepower, the most powerful Japanese motorcycle of its time. The Z1 was fast, smooth, and aggressive. With a top speed of around 130 miles per hour, it blew past its competitors. The dual overhead camshaft design gave it an edge in performance, and the styling was pure muscle. The Z1 had a long, low stance, a sleek tank, and 4 chrome exhaust pipes that made it look as mean as it was. Naturally, the Z1 became a legend. It was the bike to beat, the machine that set new standards, and the ultimate statement of performance in the early 70s. 2. 1958 Honda Super Cub. Unlike the Z1, not all legendary motorcycles are about raw power. Some change the world in ways that no high-performance machine ever could. That's exactly what the Honda Super Cub did. With over 100 million units sold, this isn't just the best-selling motorcycle of all time. It's the best-selling motor vehicle of any kind. Cars, trucks, bikes. Nothing comes close to the sheer dominance of the Super Cub. But why was it such a game changer? Simple. It made motorcycling accessible to everyone. Before the Super Cub, motorcycles were loud, intimidating, and often difficult to ride. Honda flipped that idea on its head with a step-through frame, a small 49cc engine, and an automatic clutch. This meant anyone, from first-time riders to seasoned veterans, could hop on and go. This little machine played a massive role in changing the perception of motorcycles. 1. 1969 Honda CB750. But while the Super Cub was the most important motorcycle for the masses, Honda had another trick up its sleeve. There had been fast motorcycles before, but the CB750 was something else entirely. When it hit the streets in 1969, it was the first true superbike, combining power, reliability, and cutting-edge technology into a package that made every other motorcycle manufacturer stop and take notes. At its heart was a 739cc inline-4 engine producing 67 horsepower, numbers that were unheard of at the time for a mass-produced bike. It could hit 125 miles per hour, had an electric starter, and most importantly, a front disc brake. That last feature was a huge deal, as most bikes still relied on drum brakes, which weren't nearly as effective at high speeds. This bike changed everything. It forced British manufacturers like Triumph and BSA into a decline they never recovered from. It gave birth to the modern sport bike era. It was even the foundation for the high-performance Japanese superbikes of the 70s, 80s, and beyond. Today, the CB750 is more than just a motorcycle. It's a legend. It's the bike that set the standard for everything that came after. These classic Japanese motorcycles undoubtedly played a huge role in shaping how we see motorcycles today. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our posts.